John, I was listening to your podcast a month or two ago, and I loved it. I was dying laughing because you were describing the difference between the Democratic Party culturally and the Republican Party. Well, by the way, just like the Republican Party is like, yeah, let's go to Madison Square Garden. Yeah, let's go to boxing. Let's do this. And it's so interesting because when, other than of course Barack Obama, when we Republicans would look at Democrats and be like, God, they're just joyless. And it's like, it shouldn't be this easy. They are such downers. And I listened to y'all's podcast and I just started dying laughing. You guys nailed it. It's a cultural thing, isn't it?
Yeah. If we want to be a party that can win elections, we have to be a party people would want to attend. And you see a Trump rally, and people are having a good time at that event, and Trump is mixing it up. You talked about how do we take on misinformation? How about somebody a Democrat that's doing 2-hour press conferences, that's going everywhere, that can mix it up with everyone, that can go on Joe Rogan, that seems like a good hang, and
doesn't talk like a press release.
And doesn't.
There's everyone already. Everyone's putting their statements out on social media. Write your own posts. Do some press conferences. Sit and talk to people. Go on podcasts. Don't talk like you're just like reading your pollster's memo. It's crazy.
And like, hey, like I know everybody liked The West Wing, and everybody thinks of speeches as like Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural. Everybody writes their statements like they're crossing the Delaware. They write them like they're doing their own drafts of the Federalist Papers. It's enough. It's not working. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares what we have to say about anything. Donald, we have lost so much credibility with people, and we haven't gotten ability to break through to people. And so, like, yes, we are frustrated and upset, but some of this we have to, I think when you said, should we look backwards? No, of course not. But I think we need to own the ways in which we are responsible for not being able to successfully communicate the threat Donald Trump poses.
So connected to this, we had Congressman Richard Torres on earlier, and he talked about voters that Democrats have taken for granted and then lost. He was focusing on black and brown voters, but we could certainly talk about at times white working class, young voters. So how do Democrats now sort of reach those groups and say, actually, we do hear you. We do think we care about what you think?
I mean, I think there was a theory of the case in the Democratic Party that we have a base and it's voters of color or lower income voters, and they're going to turn out for us. And all we have to do is do GOTV effort for them. And then we've lost the art of persuasion. I think we need to start convincing people that we are right and that we are going to be better for people. I think that's something Barack Obama did, but we've just sort of lost it.
Assuming people are going to vote for us based on their identity is a loser, and it has always been a loser, and it shouldn't be an assumption anymore. You have to make a case to people, and people without a college degree are now voting together more than, whether they're black, Latino, white. And so we're starting to see that more. So Democrats have to speak to that. And part of it is speaking that language, right? Which is just normal people language. How you talk to people at a bar, at a restaurant, in your own life. Like that's the way that people need to talk right now. And Democrats haven't done that, which is why working class people feel so alienated, or one reason at least.
And by the way, it's not about doing some kind of impression of Gen Z. It's not about saying brat or whatever the hell people were trying to say. The two politicians that appeal the most, AOC and Bernie. Like, Bernie is not going out there doing the latest trends. He's not doing anything on TikTok to try to appeal to young people. He's just being his authentic self.
Right. Okay, so let's do that. Let's put you to the test, because it is much easier said than done. I know Joe can do it. He can fact check Trump live. And there's a lot of struggle in the media to keep up with the fact checking. Being flexible, being nimble, being able to speak that language, to use all your words. So have at it. Donald Trump just pardoned all the January 6th, quote, hostages, he calls them, rioters, people convicted of seditious, respond to it. You're a Democrat. You're Hakeem Jeffries. You're Chuck Schumer. What should you be doing? What should you be saying right now? Here's a microphone in your face. Do it.
We don't support people that beat up cops. And if you believe in law and order, then you don't believe these people should be walking down the streets. If this was your son or daughter who'd been attacked at the Capitol, how upset would you be if you heard that the President of the United States declared someone who beat your police officer's son up was a hero? was a patriot that deserved to be on the streets. What message does that send to our kids? What message does that send to this country? This is not what he was elected to do. This is not what we want him to be doing. And by the way, I think a lot of people are saying this, right? I don't think like this is a unique or like grand original
then
thought.
What is it? And that's going to be what you guys talk about. What is it that breaks through all of this? You know what that is happening? Where and to that voter that I told you guys about, who likes Trump but is going to probably not benefit at all from his policies.
I think the hardest part of getting to that voter is not what we say, but reaching that voter.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is volume. If you look at Donald Trump's inaugural day, he did 3 inauguration speeches. The real one, the overflow, the rally at night, then a press conference, right? It
was a reality show.
Yeah. And when you are playing a volume game, you need rep after rep after rep to make sure it gets clipped on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it gets shared on X. And the algorithms are killing us right now. Like Elon Musk is skewing everything towards the Republican Party. So we need to try even harder.
Joe.
Yeah, Jon Favreau, Tommy just made such a great point. There's old saying that 99% of life is just showing up. Donald Trump always shows up. Like you look at, as somebody did an analysis of how many interviews, how many words were spoken, how many questions were answered during the 2024 campaign. It wasn't even close. I remember back in 2015, we said every Republican, every Democrat that wanted to come on the show, on the campaign trail, pick up the phone, call us, would have them come on. Donald Trump was calling every day. The only person that would take that was Lindsey Graham. He called once or twice. And we did it again, like in 2020. And, we had Congressman Ryan call up. And that was it. I mean, talk about the importance of being there. Of course, we're talking about Joe Rogan now, but Joe Rogan, Fox News, Ben Shapiro, not being afraid to go where the voters are.
Yeah.
You have to be everywhere, all the time, all the different mediums. And look, I think there's an expectation, especially after Trump won the first time, because he was on Twitter for 4 years, that we'd be hearing from our president all the time. A lot of us didn't like hearing from him, but we did. And I think over-communicating in this media environment is the most important thing leaders can do. I mean, we're all living in Los Angeles. We just are dealing with these horrific fires, and Mayor Bass was out of the city. And she was making the case that, look, I was making all the decisions I needed to make, and maybe that's true, but in a time like that, what you need is a leader who's there, who's communicating, especially in this media environment, right? Because there's so much misinformation. There's so much bad information out there. It's so hard to figure out what to do. And I think what people expect and what people deserve is a leader who's constantly talking to them and being unafraid to make mistakes, to make gaffes, because that's what's going to happen.
And then keep coming back, and then keep coming back, and then keep. What do you think Donald Trump did?
Well, and I also think Democrats think we got to go on Joe Rogan, and then they think what's going to happen is they're going to go on Joe Rogan, and then Joe Rogan's going to say something about trans issues, and they're going to say, trans issues, that's just a distraction from high prices. And have you heard about what we did with Medicare? And Joe Rogan's going to be like, what? Because they talk like a message document, and they talk like their pollster told them to talk. And instead, you actually just have to have a conversation like you're having a conversation in real life. And right now, there's a handful of Democrats who can do that. Right.
Okay. We need to continue this conversation, as you guys do all the time. Co-hosts of Pod Save America, Tommy Vitor, Jon Favreau, and Jon Lovett. Thank you all very much. And you can listen to new episodes of Pod Save America every Tuesday and Friday, and also watch on YouTube. They're entertaining, too. All right.